Hello, welcome to the History of Fun, where we explore the hidden backstories behind the things you love to do. My name is Russ Frushtick, and I am joined by Allegra Frank. Welcome, Allegra.
Hi.
And Chris Plant. Welcome, Chris.
Hello.
We have a very exciting day today. I'm going to be talking about a game that I've played since my very youth, and that game is called Monopoly. And we're going to be exploring the hidden histories of Monopoly, things you probably didn't know about the classic Parker Brothers game.
I've never heard Monopoly and exciting in the same sentence in a
You don't like
positive
Monopoly?
way. It's going to be a challenge to turn me, Russ.
In hindsight, I don't know that anyone, quote, likes Monopoly. They sort of tolerate Monopoly, but everyone's very familiar with it. I feel like it has very intrinsic attitudes towards it, right? Like people have strong feelings about it.
Sure.
I don't want to be like that guy. But I'm like something of an expert on the topic.
Oh, are you? Are you
if you're like saying things that are like wrong,
Sure.
just don't be surprised when I'm like, that's not right.
Well, that's good. We're here for you to challenge me, so that's very important. A few things we're going to go over. Obviously, the origins of the game, where it came from. We're also going to talk about the current state of the game, weird changes to the board that have been made over the years, and other versions, of course. And we're going to end with some cultural impact of Monopoly, maybe in areas that you might know, like the origins of the McDonald's Monopoly game.
Oh, yeah.
Also, President Trump.
I was thinking Trump.
What about
Yeah,
Trump?
like
Thinking
think about
Trump.
it.
Well,
Oh my gosh, open your eyes.
What about Trump and Monopoly?
It's called Monopoly, and it's a game about real estate where you just you take over everything you can, and then you exploit the middle class. The lower class, they can't even get a place.
Holy cow.
You
You know what? This is a perfect segue to the origins of Monopoly, people. So Monopoly was never, at its origins, was not called Monopoly. It was called the Landlord's Game. So very good, Chris Plant.
Knew that.
Good, perfect segue. In 1904, the Landlord's Game was created by a woman named Elizabeth Maggie. And the idea of it, the purpose, the reason it existed was because she wanted to teach players about the tenets of Georgism.
Georgism?
Do you guys know about Georgism? Chris
I
Plant,
have no
smarty pants
idea.
over there?
Of course.
No, you do not. Georgism is basically a pretty nice idea, which is that economic value derived from stuff like land should belong equally to all members of society. It's like a very kind of egalitarian, community-driven concept.
Isn't that just socialism?
Well, parts of it.
Or
It's
communism?
complicated.
Parts of it are, but they do also believe in individual wealth. So it's not
Okay.
total wealth, but when it comes to stuff like property ownership and stuff like land ownership, that should be shared. Now, you might be thinking that is wholly different from the tenets of Monopoly as a game.
Yes.
Which makes this the world's first ironic game. They definitely, she was trying to teach the world that winning at Monopoly, you are basically the worst person imaginable.
Wow. I feel like that's still true, personally.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed.
Do you feel like that's like a problem with like a lot of games when they try to like say something that is counter to the entire point of the game? Remember that game of Spec Ops where you like napalmed women and children,
Oh,
and at
my
the end it
God.
was like, "Can you believe that you did that? Now hop into multiplayer for 500 more headshots and a special trophy."
Do you think Candyland was just like diabetes information?
Yeah, it's trying to ward you off candy.
Avoid the beatus.
It was called "Don't Eat Candy" first, and then they're like, "That won't sell. Let's call it Candyland."
Yeah, so Landlord's Game was created in 1904. Actually, she was reasonably successful. She shared it with her friends. It kind of developed this following behind it to the point where by 1932, this is almost 30 years after that, it had spread, among kind of intellectual economics professors, that kind of ilk. And a couple of professors actually had this gentleman over to their house. His name was Charles Darrow. And Charles played the Landlord's Game and loved it so much that he asked this couple for a copy of the rules. He's like, hey, how do I play? I want to, show my friends, stuff like that. And later that year, he stole the rules and the game and the board and made a game called Monopoly.
I'm just imagining him literally stealing all those things from his friend's house.
It's actually kind of funny because
And the toilet paper.
the version that he effectively stole, that he was copying off of, had a few mistakes in it. We all know that Monopoly properties, or maybe you don't know, Monopoly properties are based on Atlantic City streets. And there were a few misspellings in that version that ended up carrying over to the final version of Monopoly. So that was a pretty good indication that he was not responsible for the creation of it. And yet, he started selling Monopoly that Christmas season. It did so well that a little company named Parker Brothers paid him a bunch of money for the rights to Monopoly, thereby forgetting Elizabeth Maggie entirely.
Wow.
And screwing her over pretty good.
Wait, what did she do?
Well, just no one knew about her. Clearly, Charles Darrow, captain of industry and marketing, was accepting the tenets of true Monopoly, just adopting the feel of it in his heart and soul, and really taking advantage of things, which is sad. It's a bummer. It wasn't until 1973 that people actually found out about Elizabeth Maggie and her creation. So again, we're talking about 40 years down the road beyond. She obviously long since dead. No one knew while she was alive that she created Monopoly, so that's a bummer. But there was another economics professor, snobby bunch that they are, that thought it'd be really funny and cute to make a game called Anti-Monopoly. Economics professors known the world over as the most hilarious bunch there is. So he tried to sell this game. Parker Brothers predictably sued him. Big court case, and in the process of researching this trial, the guy who is selling Anti-Monopoly came across Elizabeth Maggie's original patent.
Oh.
And suddenly it was very clear that she created Monopoly.
She patented it too?
She patented it and everything.
America is such a bad country.
The problem is there are just so many patents that there's really no way to keep track of all of them, right?
This has become extremely depressing.
Is it dark? But she finally got recognized.
After she was long dead because some man dug up her patent that everyone ignored in a court case.
But now I'll bet everyone leaves like little boots and terriers on her grave. So that makes it so much better.
Actual living terriers.
Although the guy won the case, in 1984, Parker Brothers did get the exclusive rights to Monopoly, the board game. Before that, they basically ruled that Monopoly was like a broad term and no one could copyright it, but Parker Brothers did get the rights, except for Anti-Monopoly. The guy could still sell Anti-Monopoly and be covered. So good on him. He won too.
Everyone won except for Elizabeth.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about the origins of Monopoly, where it came from. Good work, Elizabeth. I want to talk about the game itself. So, obviously both of you are pretty familiar with it. As I mentioned, based on the streets of Atlantic City, Jersey, I guess, right?
Have you never been to Atlantic City? You've never been forced to go there over the summer to see grandparents?
I'm sure. Really? Your grandparents lived in Atlantic City?
Oh, yeah. My grandpa, every summer, man. We go to the boardwalk. It's the worst.
Listen to some Springsteen. Yeah.
I've never been there. I always I don't want to rule off an entire city, but I always kind of got the impression it was a little bit seedy, maybe.
It's trash. It is bad.
But I did watch Boardwalk Empire, so I feel like I'm fully versed in Atlantic City now.
Except you didn't know what state it was in.
Is it in New Jersey?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And you call everyone who lives there Nookie.
Nookie. So there are 40 spaces in Monopoly, 28 of which are properties, and then you have chance spaces, go to jail, luxury tax, all that stuff. As we know, buy property, all that stuff. So as I was reading through the rules, which it's been a little while since I've read through the rules of Monopoly, according to the rules, you cannot choose to go into bankruptcy. You can't be like, F this, no, I'm done after 3 hours of playing. You can't I hate all you guys and just storm out. According to the rules, you are forced to continue playing until you fully liquidate your assets and go into horrible amounts of debt.
You literally are not allowed to stop playing.
Yes.
Oh my God.
It's very dark.
This is I'm so disturbed. I came into this not liking Monopoly, just passively. Now I'm actively angry about Monopoly.
But don't you feel like this is the perfect, for Elizabeth's, purpose of creating the game initially, this is perfect because it really does highlight the awfulness of like pure unadulterated capitalism. Like a little bit of capitalism, fine, but
that doesn't happen because nobody cares about that. They care about the stupid game.
We
People
just
are
want
like,
the money.
yeah, but that's only the one person that ends up winning. Everyone else is like, oh, I learned this lesson pretty well. Monopolies are awful.
I just learned that Monopoly is awful, but okay.
Yeah, I did want to mention some of the changes to the board. One of which was the misspelling that I spoke about. Marvin Gardens was originally spelled with an I in Marvin. It's actually an E in Marvin. So that was in that original Landlords game. And that wasn't changed until 1995, to give you an idea of how long that stuck around. That version also changed a couple things, like Atlantic City's Quaker Arctic Avenue was changed to Mediterranean.
Wait, they like messed up that it was called?
No, they didn't mess it up. I think it might have just been they didn't want to talk about Quakers.
Oh.
Maybe.
Also, the
are
Arctic.
so nice.
Arctic is cold.
Wasn't Nixon a Quaker?
They want.
I don't know. Was
I
he?
think Nixon might have been a Quaker. Generally, I think they're considered to be nice.
That's for a different episode. Was
Yeah.
Nixon a Quaker?
We're going to start diving into some other versions of Monopoly now. Obviously, there have been quite a number of them. I'm going to talk about the UK version of Monopoly, which was licensed from Parker Brothers in the 1930s by the most UK-sounding company name ever, Waddingtons. I'm picturing Mr. Waddington wearing kind of like a Paddington Bear coat
Yeah.
and like that yellow hat. So they made a UK version of the game. It still exists. All the properties are UK streets based in London specifically. And something I found really cool, during World War II, the game by that point had become very popular. And the British Secret Service actually reached out to Mr. Waddington himself to start making Monopoly sets that included escape maps, money, a compass, a file. And these would be sent to POW relief charities. So essentially, I guess, Germans would get a bunch of like board games for the POWs, something that I didn't know about history. And they would give them out just to like keep them occupied, but they'd have escape maps in them.
Oh my God, that's rad.
Isn't that super cool?
That's actually really awesome.
I don't know. They might have confused that with like Clue, because that has all sorts of like various devices.
Like
game?
actual clues.
What's the game with all the weapons in it? Let's send them that. Oh yeah, Monopoly.
Why is this gun full size? Also during World War II, the dice in Monopoly, well-known dice, were replaced by a spinner because they were rationing. So I guess dice materials were very hard to come by.
The familiar dice shortage.
I feel like dice is, I don't know. I never liked the dice of Monopoly, mostly because there's so many pieces on the board and they were so fraught with like knocking all my hotels over or houses. Just doesn't, they should have had like a Pop-O-Matic bubble or something.
Yeah. Also, every game should just have one of those bubbles.
Yeah, I completely agree. The dice obviously can be tricky. One of the hardest problems I had was money organization. And I guess it's a good lesson, but you're dealing with like a lot of paper and stuff. And I don't like math. Specifically when I'm trying
Kids
to
these
calculate
days.
like 10% of income tax and stuff like that. Thankfully, there was the lazy math edition of Monopoly, the electronic banking edition,
Oh.
where kids were handed credit cards.
Oh, what? That's
to
great.
Is it?
Wait, okay. Did the credit cards have like limits?
I mean, I think that it was more like a debit card where it literally showed
Okay.
you the actual amount.
What if it was just like, okay, all these kids have credit cards? That game would never end. Everyone's just buying mansions.
Yeah, that would, well, right, and going into horrible debt.
Yeah.
That would teach us another lesson.
Wait, wouldn't that be a better game? Because
That sounds
then
fun.
you get punished because you have tremendous debt that you can't pay off. So then, like, later in the game, people who are winning early would have to lose later.
Yeah, but
Yeah, that would be such a good game where everyone's like, this is awesome. Like, we have so many hotels and mansions. And then, like, one person is, like, the debt collector secretly.
Sure.
And he's like, actually, and he, like, throws up the board and he's like, all y'all are in debt. You have nothing.
I'm the IRS.
But the whole point of it is the people that have mansions and houses early on can eventually pay for their debt because they get an advantage early, right? It would work out.
Russ.
Yeah, because they have a credit line. Their credit line is so good.
There was also an ultra expensive version of the game. A gentleman named Sidney Mobell had a 1.3 million pound version of Monopoly with 18-karat set gold tokens.
Wow. That's
Where
such
do
a
you even put
waste.
that?
Yeah. Do you just have that on your coffee table?
Is it
as,
under
like,
glass?
decoration? Yeah.
Also, how do you explain like how much you spent on Monopoly?
Like someone comes in, they're like, "Why?" And you're like, "I can explain." You don't understand.
Chris Pine, do you have any favorite versions of Monopoly?
I mean, the Star Wars one, right? Like, that's the big one. That's the one. That was the first time I feel like everybody was like, oh, man, Monopoly. But what if it was great? Like, I can have a whole galaxy. I can get Tatooine. I can get Dagobah.
Okay.
I can get
I feel like I can name 6
Sky
planets.
Place. Skytown.
Bespin.
Sky City.
Bespin.
Yes. Hoth. Sky. They're right next to each other.
And I'll bet the Death
One,
Star is
it's
probably
the
like
Twin
Park Place or
Cities.
something. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Death Star. I've got more. If that's what you're waiting for.
No, I'm not waiting for that. There was also a version called Monopoly Here and Now Edition. The idea was to modernize Monopoly because it felt like a little old-timey because it was technically made in 1904. So they ended up multiplying all the money values by 10,000 so that every time you pass go, you got $2 million. It's pretty good. They replaced the railroads with airports and the utilities with service providers like ISPs and cell phone providers.
Wait, so what was like the highest dollar value that you could collect in that game?
What do you mean?
Like, okay, so every time you pass go, you got $2 million.
Yeah, sure.
So what does the money go up to? Is that the max? If they're giving out the bills? Are they giving out bills still?
Yeah, it's still bills, but I mean, effectively, it's the same amount.
Like, what's
as
the
before.
biggest
It's
bill?
the same bills, though. You're still getting $200 bills, but you have to count up to $2 million.
Right.
It
They just
takes
needed to print bigger
forever
bills to
play
fit all
it.
the zeros.
Ugh.
Presumably, Park Place would be the big money drain on that. It would be like $12 million to spend a night at Park Place, which is a bummer. Okay, my favorite section. We're going to talk about the pieces.
Yeah.
Favorite piece, Allegra?
I like the little dog.
You like the dog. Chris Plant?
The finger protector, a thimble.
Oh my God,
The finger protector.
Okay, well, I got some bad news coming up for you, Chris Plant, about the thimble.
No, I know.
Oh, he's well aware. Okay, so the pieces started when it was originally created. Now I'm talking about originally in 1934. The pieces were a goblet, a bathtub, an elephant, a lamp, a candlestick, a trolley car, a boot. So the boot is stuck around. A ship, a hat. You know, some of these have stuck around. The hat certainly. The car. So those were the default ones. But by what?
Those are pieces from other games.
What do you mean?
There was like, oh well, we have this from Battleship.
No, the
I
ship.
guess that'll work.
The ship
we got
has been
this
in
elephant piece from the elephant game. we got this car from the car. Like those are just random pieces.
No,
from
I think
other
they
board
show
games.
wealth. Like if you have an elephant, you're clearly doing pretty good.
If you have a bathtub.
Yeah, hell yeah.
If you have a boot.
It's a clawfoot bathtub, so you know it's super
goblet.
fancy. But during World War II, in the U.S., the pieces were replaced with various wooden pawns. Again, to save materials, but just like weirdly carved pawns. But after the war, worry not, because pewter was introduced, and so they kind of nailed down some of the more final tokens that would eventually come to Monopoly. They added Chris Plant's favorite, the thimble. A plane, a horse, a cannon. So the cannon's been in for quite a while. A dog, your favorite, the terrier. A wheelbarrow and an iron press, like for pressing shirts. I never understood why that was there. They got rid of the elephant, the goblet, the bathtub, candlestick, trolley car, and the boot disappeared after World War II.
Really?
Wait, then it came. Wait, I sense something's about to change.
Comeback story.
Yeah, so, over time, there have been various pieces that have been retired. Currently, the retired pieces are, I'm sorry to say, Chris Plant, the thimble. Wheelbarrow is retired. The boot is retired. Horse. The cannon is gone. There was a bag of money at one time that got retired.
All the cool pieces.
The iron press and the train.
Practical
got
pieces.
retired. Do you guys know the current standard set of pieces? Some of these I had no idea.
Okay, I know they just introduced a new one. Was it the cat? I know there's a cat now.
There is a cat. That is one of them.
Yes.
Yes.
What was the other new one?
Car.
Yes. Car.
car.
Well, car has been in. Yeah. Everyone. Car is my favorite because you could drive from property to
yeah.
property. Of course.
They still have
my
the
gosh.
dog.
Yes. Dog is still in.
God, I can't believe they don't have the boot.
Yeah. The boot's long gone. People don't want to be a boot. What do you know?
That's messed up.
They have the ship. The ship is still there.
Okay.
The hat is still there. They've added a penguin.
Yes.
I guess because the tuxedo.
I just
No,
think
because of the
kids like
penguin.
penguins.
Yeah, the villain.
Or-
Penguin.
Oh, yeah, they
Oh.
added the Batman villain, the penguin, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Or I guess if you own a penguin in a city, you're probably doing pretty well. It seems like a
You're
very
doing something
flashy way to
very
live.
abusive to animals, is what you're doing.
There's also a T-Rex.
I think that's the new one.
That
like
might be the
super
new one.
Yeah.
I guess to get kids involved, kids like dinosaurs, and a rubber duck is also in there.
What?
Yeah. Some of the other versions that we spoke about have added various like thematic pieces. Obviously, Star Wars has like lightsabers and crap like that. The electronic banking edition, which we talked about earlier, includes a Segway as one of the pieces. When we all thought Segways were going to change the world.
And speaking of segues,
No, we're not up to a Segway. That would have been perfect.
Oh, damn.
I blew it. I did want to talk about the .com edition set of pieces.
Oh, God.
Here's the problem. If you're going to make a themed Monopoly board, you should know that there's a lot of variety that you can toss in there. Now, granted, they clearly thought, hey, there's a lot of websites. We could probably put a bunch of websites as properties, sure. But for pieces, when you're trying to scream like .com, you're kind of limited. So we have a computer with the internet, just a computer monitor, an email, a mouse, the animal, not the actual mouse, a pixelated pointer hand, a Monopoly man on a computer, a bug, a virus, and a surfboard.
What?
Why the
surfing the
For
internet?
surfing the internet.
So there's like 4 computers in there.
yeah.
Everyone's fighting over which computer they get to be.
Yeah, there's a lot of competition. Terrible version of Monopoly. Would not recommend it. I'm sure it's worth a lot on eBay now. Let's talk about strategy real quick. If you could have any properties or any Monopoly on the board, which Monopoly would you want?
There's like, isn't there a boardwalk or something?
There is a boardwalk and a park place. That's the expensive Monopoly at the end of the board, yes.
Yeah.
You want that one?
Yes.
Big mistake. Chris Plant, what do you want?
I have it for you. So, think of the board in 90-degree angles, right?
Sure, it's a square.
You start at the start.
Yeah.
You take one 90-degree turn. You turn right, okay?
Yeah,
Then you go to the end of that. You turn right again.
yeah.
You go all the way to the end of that row. You are essentially 3/4 of the way across the board.
Okay.
The one right before the corner. I want that one.
Why? That's so weird.
Because it costs a lot, but not too much. But if you build hotels on it, you can get good returns. So like early in the game, you can turn it into a big hotel.
Okay. Well, I understand. So you've earned a little bit of money by that point, and then you try to like.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah,
Sure.
but you don't have to save use all your money early.
I
so you can
understand.
still be buying houses. I mean, the real strat is just to buy everything your first time through.
Interesting and wrong.
Really?
According to this strategy, what you should be going for is the orange monopoly, consisting of St. James, Tennessee, and New York Avenue, which may be the thing that Chris Plant is talking about. I'm not
I
entirely
think that's
sure.
what I said.
But the reason that
Wow,
is the
expert.
monopoly to go for is because those spots are actually the most landed on because of their proximity to the go to jail position and various community chest cards, which kind of send you to various spots along the map. So if you factor in rolling odds plus all those different spots, people will land on those properties more than any other spot on the board.
Also, can I be honest with you?
What? Chris
That
Plant?
was not my spot. I wanted the yellow spot. I just want to be honest because
Good, I'm glad.
Yellow's close to orange.
Which one's yellow? Who's on there?
No, it's not. Allegra, you're trying to help me out here, and I appreciate
okay.
that. But it goes brown, baby robin's egg blue, awkward purple, orange, stop sign red, ugly yellow, and I wanted ugly yellow. Like
Amen.
Big Bird yellow.
Yeah, very, very bright yellow. So you guys have played Monopoly. Do you remember like your longest game of Monopoly?
I feel like probably 2 hours was the longest. Like, I don't know that I've ever finished a game of Monopoly.
Yeah.
Like, we were just like, we're done.
Yeah, because invariably one person is so far in the lead that there's just no fun to be had. Unfortunately, you were all breaking the rules if you quit early.
I know.
Because you're not allowed. I have a quote here from Edward P. Parker of the Parker Brothers.
My least favorite of the Parker brothers.
Yeah, he was
EP.
he was a jerk. So this is a quote. We always felt that 45 minutes was about the right length for the game, but Monopoly could go on for hours. A real concern.
Who can play that for 45 minutes? Like,
I don't think
who
it's
can beat
possible. He went on to say, also, a game is supposed to have a definite end somewhere, whereas Monopoly, you kept going around and around and around, which is true. So much so that according to Hasbro, which currently owns Parker Brothers and Monopoly, the longest game of Monopoly ever lasted for, any guesses?
I'm going to say a week.
Okay, Chris Plant?
I'm going to say 2.5 days.
70 days.
70!
And not only that, that's 1,680 hours. So that's not 70 days and we like took a break to sleep. That's like over 1,680 hours.
God.
Some people played the same game of Monopoly.
Okay, everything that E.P. Parker was saying, like, makes this sound like they know this game is messed up.
Yeah, they knew full well that there was a problem with it. But at that point, it had been popular, so there's nothing you can do about it. You ready? We're going to talk about McDonald's Monopoly.
Yes, please.
I have very fond memories of McDonald's Monopoly because I honestly believe that I had a chance to win. Because you'd get like St. James in New York, and you'd be really excited because you're going to complete the Monopoly and get like $5,000. It started in 1987. The odds of winning were so dramatically low, but it was devious because people didn't know which piece was the rare piece. So they'd be like, oh, I'm super close to winning, and they would not. So I probably got one free cheeseburger, though. Did you guys ever win anything?
Maybe like a coupon. But the main thing I won... Oh, Plant, you asked.
Go for
No,
it.
go ahead. You. I want to hear what you want.
Okay, the main thing I won was the opportunity to go to McDonald's multiple times a week because my mom who's very into like lottery tickets.
Oh, okay.
She'd
It's
be
a
like,
gambling problem.
Yes. She'd be like, we can win something. We would just like keep going, keep buying French fries. And I was like, this is great. I'm eating French fries every day. We would just hold on to the cartons and we never won. Maybe we won a coupon once, but it was just awesome. I was like, yes, Monopoly's back and I get to eat French fries all month.
Did you keep the board on the fridge to keep track?
I think my mom kept it in her room privately.
Framed.
On her like altar.
Chris Plant, did you ever win anything?
No, of course not.
No, of
I
course
want, like
not.
chicken nuggets. I don't know. Question.
Yeah.
Is the reason you don't see Monopoly at McDonald's anymore, is it because none of us go to McDonald's anymore? Or is it because of the internet, you can like look up whether or not you have a rare piece?
Yeah, so
the game isn't as...
Sure. Or theoretically trade with other people and have like a, that way. So they've had Monopoly off and on over the years. I think the last time they had it was 2016. So it does sort of exist, but they do take time off. They did dramatically change the game in 2000 because something happened. Do you guys know about this occurrence?
No. Was it because of Y2K?
No. In 2000, it came to light that 21 people had won the vast majority of the prizes over the course of 5 years of McDonald's Monopoly.
What?
Turns out that the company that McDonald's hired to organize the game had a head of security who was pretty ambitious and basically dug through and got the super rare pieces, including the $1 million piece that was like free parking. So there were a few pieces that were you just needed one and you were good to go. So he dug through, got all the rare pieces, and then would give it to friends and associates, and they would turn them in and share the prize pool. And this went on for 5 years. In 2000, 21 people were arrested in the fraud. Some of them got off due to a technicality, but they were not all bad because the guy running the scam did actually mail one of the $1 million pieces to St. Jude's Children's Hospital of Memphis, Tennessee, and they turned it in, and McDonald's actually waived the rule that you had to be the person who bought it, which is technically in the rules, but they waived that one for St. Jude's and did actually pay them out the full amount. But for 5 years, the McDonald's Monopoly game was a total scam, and your mom was leading you down a primrose path to doom.
I'm just like thinking that this is a company, like a really boring, basic office.
Yeah.
And all these people are just secretly millionaires.
Driving in like a Camaro.
They
and
just
like
refuse
a
to quit. Like they could probably retire. They refuse to quit because they can keep winning the money for years.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing that it didn't really come to light. Like you would think the IRS would notice that, like, hey, everyone in this small town is like doing pretty well luck-wise. But no. We're going to wrap things up with a little bit of movie history. In 2008, Ridley Scott, known for Alien and Blade Runner and that one with angry Russell Crowe. What's that one? He yells at people.
Oh.
Gladiator.
Yes.
Got the rights and began working on a Monopoly movie.
Ugh.
What do you mean, ugh? Doesn't that sound amazing?
No, what's a Monopoly movie?
Well, you haven't heard the premise of the movie yet. The premise was that a lovable loser type obsessed with Monopoly suddenly finds his life transformed into the game in which he must ultimately defeat the evil Parker Brothers.
Oh my God, not Mr. Moneybags. The Parker Brothers.
The Parker Brothers were the evil. Mr. Moneybags is fake, Allegra. He's not a real guy. Parker Brothers are real. We've already heard from one of them.
Okay, but no one can go into Monopoly, so the premise is fiction.
Is it? Is it? I'm pretty bummed, to be honest, that the movie didn't happen.
That actually
sounds
rad.
amazing.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit about the secret history of Monopoly. Did you guys learn anything?
I learned that this is the darkest, saddest timeline that we live in which this game continues to thrive, and I feel very bad for Elizabeth.
Alas. No, but we're remembering her now on a podcast in the future. More than 100 years later, Elizabeth is remembered for her great actions. Yeah, she's not really taking
Let's make
advantage
sure
of
to
it,
play a Sarah McLachlan song on the outro.
I'll try to get the rights. Chris Plant, any closing thoughts on Monopoly?
Yeah, I mean, it's a game, right? Like, if you're real bored at your grandma's house and there's nothing else to do,
and there's like
and
4 other people there
talk
somehow.
To your uncle,
yeah,
that's when Monopoly comes up. It
Yeah.
is a tool. Yeah, it's not a game. It's a tool to not have to talk with your family.
Amen. Well, thank you both, and thank you at home for listening to The History of Fun, a podcast where we explore the hidden backstories behind the things you love to do.